what is up guys, and welcome to the day 16 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. Alright, so I have a lot to talk about because there were a lot of games last night, so let's just get right into this. The Clippers are having an outstanding season so far and is going unnoticed by a lot of NBA fans. And I get it, there are a lot of distractions in the league right now. There's the Warriors, Westbrook's revenge, James Harden at point guard, even the Pelicans, even though they haven't gotten a win, are getting more attention than the Clippers. And I guess part of the reason is the people already knew the Clippers were good. Everyone already knew that they were like a top 3 team in the West and like a top 4 team in the league. Everyone already knew this. So their 7-1 start to the season hasn't been too much of a surprise. But it's not just that they're 7-1, it's what they've managed to do in their games, especially the last 3 games. In the last 3 games, they beat the Spurs, of course, they beat my Pistons, and then they beat the Blazers. And it's not just that they beat them, it's about how they beat them. Actually, it's not even that they beat them, they freaking dissected those 3 teams. They beat the Spurs by 24 points, then they beat my Pistons by 32 points, and then just last night, they beat the Blazers by 31 points. And what's getting it done is their defense. The Clippers' defense has been unreal. After they beat the Spurs by 24 points, I know personally I wrote it off as the Spurs having a bad game. Not saying the Clippers aren't capable of beating the Spurs or anything. The Spurs losing by 24 points just doesn't sound normal. And then they beat my Pistons by 32 and I was like, blowouts happen. But now after beating the Blazers by 31, there's no doubt that there's nothing to do with the other teams as much as it has to do with the Clippers themselves. So far this year, they are the #1 defensively rated team. They're only allowing 89 points per game. And over the last 3 games, they've held the Pistons, Spurs, and the Blazers to a combined 37% shooting from the field, and I think it was like 31% from 3. Defensively, they are choking the life out of teams right now. But it's not even about the numbers, It's not even about the numbers. If you watch them play, it's like they're just one cohesive unit, Everyone on that team is dialed in and everyone on that team is hustling, giving it everything they have. And let's be honest here, we all know the reason why. This could very well be this Clippers group's last chance. We know that and they know that. Blake Griffin and Chris Paul are both free agents after this year and no one quite knows what's gonna happen with those 2 players. And something else that everyone knows is that the Clippers haven't been the luckiest franchise throughout the year. A couple years ago, it finally looked like they were about to get out the second round, They were up 31 on the Rockets, and then just boom, it just blew up in their face. Last year they got really unlucky. It looked like they were about to beat the Blazers in the first round. They were up 2-0 and then boom boom. Paul and Griffin both go down with injuries and we know the rest. And honestly, that's what it's gonna take this year. It's gonna take another stroke of severely bad luck. Especially if they play the way that they've been playing, it's gonna take some terrible luck once again to keep this team from going far in the playoffs. Speaking of distractions, there were probably a couple more that kept you from noticing the Clippers last night too. One of them being DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan a couple of games ago had his worst game of the season, and it's not like it was a bad game anyways. It wasn't as good as what we've been expecting from him this season so far, considering the numbers he's been putting up. Yesterday, he most definitely bounced back. Yesterday, he had 37 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals, and the Raptors beat the Thunder. And DeMar DeRozan did his normal thing. He was fire last night, but what was nice to see was Kyle Lowry. He still didn't have a great time shooting the ball. He has still yet to have a great night shooting the ball. He has not shot like Kyle Lowry this entire season. He did have a good game still though last night. He had 19 points, I think like 13 assists, and 9 rebounds. So 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. And what's good is the Toronto Raptors are finding ways to win even when Kyle Lowry has an off game. In years past, when Kyle Lowry would have an off game, there was basically an automatic loss for the Toronto Raptors. This year they're 5-2, and considering the fact that Kyle Lowry still has been shooting well, you are happy with that. As for the Thunder, Russell Westbrook did have 37.7 rebounds and 7 assists. But he did have more turnovers than assists. He had 8 turnovers and 7 assists. And Russell Westbrook, we all know, is a very aggressive player. He is a very aggressive player. But I think last night he might have been a bit too aggressive trying to find his own shot. He was 9 for 26 from the field and 3 for 12 from 3. Russell Westbrook isn't a terrible 3-point shooter. I mean, he can hit some threes, but there's no way he should be shooting 12 a game. And I'm sure Thunder fans can agree with me on this, that Russell Westbrook should not be attempting 12 threes a game, especially if he's not hitting any of them. After so many almost triple-doubles, James Harden got his first win of the season last night against the Spurs. He had 24 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds. Another freaking game with 15 assists for James Harden. James Harden at point guard, I'll say it again, is pure flames. I saw some crazy stat on the internet, It said something like James Harden is responsible for like 65 points that the Rockets score every night, whether it be scoring or assists. Around 65 points you're getting from James Harden every night. MVP stands for most valuable player, right? I don't know how much more valuable you get than that. On the other hand, Kawhi Leonard is pretty valuable too. He had 34 points for the Spurs last night. The Spurs fell short, and I know there are a lot of Spurs fans that are going to be unhappy because of the seemingly no call on Kawhi Leonard's drive at the end of the game last night, but that happens in the NBA a lot, yo. Refs are well known for not making calls towards the end of games. The Wolves got their second win of the season last night, yo, behind big games from Zach Lavine and Andrew Wiggins. Zach Lavine was actually fire last night. He had 37 points, I believe, on 7 of 9 shooting from 3. 7 of 9 from 3, and Zach Lavine's just one of those players that when he has it going, when he is setting flames, those flames don't die down throughout the game. No, those flames get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they spread like freaking wildfire to other players on his team. And when you look at it, the 2 games where Zach Lavine was flames are the 2 games that the Timberwolves won so far this year. If the Pacers lost this game, then I think it would have officially been time to start thinking about panicking in Indiana. Paul George hit a clutch shot to send the game to OT, and then the Pacers won in overtime. Jeff Teague had his best game of the season with 30 points and 9 assists, and you know Paul George did his normal thing with 28 points and 8 rebounds. A really good game from last night, though, was the Jazz vs. Hornets. The Hornets won and are now tied with the Cleveland for the best record in the East. Yo, Kemba Walker dropped 20, but for the Hornets, like I said before, it's not about individual performances or anything, but about the team as a whole. And for Utah, you know they were without George Hill again. I think he has like a sprained finger or something, nothing too serious, but Rodney Hood and Gordon Hayward both had really good nights. And these are the 2 teams in each conferences where I think no team really wants to get matched against them in the playoffs. Otto Porter had the freaking game of his life, yo, at 34 points and 14 rebounds. He's had a couple of good games this season. The Wizards beat the Celtics easily, and the Celtics are still without Al Horford and Jay Crowder. Harrison Barnes met up with his old team for the first time yesterday, and the Mavericks got blown out. Harrison Barnes didn't have a bad game. I think he had like, 24 points. So, you know, it was nice to see him put up some numbers against the Golden State Warriors, you know, the team that let him go for Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant also had a nice game. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson had his first good game. And, you know, the Golden State Warriors just had too much firepower for the Dallas Mavericks. The Hawks still look impressive, yo. They beat the Bulls last night, so you know they beat another pretty good Eastern Conference team. And people are still sleeping on the Hawks. I think that this Hawks team is better than the team a couple of years ago that overachieved. Jimmy Butler had a really good game, yo. He went off for 39 points, but the Hawks team play was just too much for the Bulls to overcome. The Suns beat the Pistons, yo. Yep. We need Reggie Jackson back ASAP, yo. Ish Smith, he's nice, but he's much better as a reserve, yo. We need Reggie Jackson back ASAP. And for the Suns, Jared Dudley came out of nowhere off the bench. He was 4 for 6 from 3. I think he had 19 points. And then Eric Bledsoe almost had a triple-double with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and I think 8 assists. Last but not least, the Knicks beat the Nets. Porzingis had another really good game. Glad they finally took my advice about getting him more involved in the offense after that game where he only attempted 4 field goals. Since then, he's been flamed. Jennings had a good game off the bench. He only scored 3 points, but he was out there making plays, yo. He was out there making plays. He finished the game with 11 assists off the bench. And that wraps it up for all the action, the Day 16 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please smash that like button. I greatly appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You guys already know I'll be right back here tomorrow to recap the action from tonight. So until then, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!